Welcome to TryPod Trivia Night. Thanks for joining me for this weekly sports quiz, testing your knowledge, pick up some pub ammo, and hopefully have a bit of fun with me tonight, all under 30 minutes. We'll go about 5 rounds. I'm Jacob Wynn, and this show is brought to you in partnership with Top Sport. If you are playing along with me, let me know if you're in the house, and let's have a crack. If you want the show to continue into December, let us know as well if you've been enjoying it. If people are enjoying it, I'm enjoying it too. So I'll keep putting together questions each week. You should know the drill by now. 25 points up for grabs, 5 different rounds. Each week you're trying to attain GOAT level status, which is scoring 21 or better. So keep your score as you go. You'll have even more fun. See how your wisdom stacks up. And with that being said, let's get straight in. Round 1, where we are going to test how many people can remember the year of major sporting moments. And question number 1, first question of the night, is what year did Kathy Freeman win gold at the Olympic Games? Can see Lockie, who I remember killed it last week. He's on the ball. Plenty of people getting that. Maybe that was an easy one to get you guys warmed up. Sydney 2000 Olympics, that was. She was the 400-meter world champion going in, and she carried the nation on her back around one lap of Stadium Australia for a famous win. Question 2. Sorry, I put it up on the screen there. Question 2. The Wallabies, much maligned recently, and we talked a bit of Rugby World Cup last couple of weeks, or going back 2 or 3 weeks ago. But can you actually remember the last time the Wallabies did win the Rugby World Cup? It has happened. It wasn't too recent, but I'm interested to know how many people can recall the year that the Wallabies saluted and were at the top of world rugby. Thanks for playing along, guys. Can see answers coming in. 2003, incorrect. That was agonizingly close. Extra time lost to England, I think, where Johnny Wilkinson took over. 1999, though, Brandon and a couple of private uses nailing it there. 1999 is correct. Also mentioning Australia did win in 91. I was after the last win, so congrats. Everyone got 99. Australia smashed France in the final. That was at Cardiff. And I've got a bonus question for you, and this isn't for the quiz, but just, on the topic of rugby. Okay, winning the World Cup's not easy. There's only one every 4 years. Everybody's competing, right? But what about the Bledisloe Cup? There's only 2 teams competing. It's Australia and New Zealand every year. So a 2-horse race, you've always got a chance. And it's on every year. It's not every 4 years. Can anyone remember the last time Australia won/retained the Bledisloe Cup? And that is not officially a question. It's just kind of a bonus question since we're on the topic of rugby and the Wallabies. And Brandon's 2001. Now you're putting me on the spot. It was 2. I want to say 2000. So fact check me, guys. And if it was 2001, I'm going to throw Brandon straight in the major prize draw. But I want to say 2000 was John Eales kicking the goal from the sideline. And that's, anyway, it's 20 plus years ago in a 2-horse race, which is pretty crazy. So sorry, Aussie rugby fans, can only get better again from here. Question 3. So 1999 is the answer that I was looking for last time Australia won the Rugby World Cup. When was the last time Australia hosted an Olympic Games? What year was that? Lockie Hall says 2002 might have been when Australia last retained the Bledisloe. So appreciate the comments coming through and appreciate everyone who is getting question 3 correct. Well done, guys. Simo, 1956. Lockie's right as well. Brandon too. 1956, which was Melbourne. We just mentioned, of course, Sydney 2000, and it's Brisbane's turn next, 2032 coming up. Okay, everyone's going to remember the last time Australia won the Cricket World Cup for one-day internationals. But I'm wondering how many can remember the last time, so the previous occasion when Australia did win the one-day World Cup. So that is prior to Sunday/Monday morning Aussie time in India. It wasn't that long ago. Everyone's onto it. 2015 is correct. So Australia missed out 2019. I think we talked about that last week, was England. And Brandon's onto it here, though. 2015 final at the MCG beat New Zealand. Australia's got a great record of Cricket World Cups, but you've got to say what they've achieved at the most recent World Cup. You lose your 2 opening games. You then go on and win 9 straight, I think they had to win, including avenging the 2 losses, South Africa, and then, of course, India. And this Indian side was a juggernaut team. And I mean, I don't want to rub it in to any Indian followers, but it's like, you've got a country that's 1.3 billion people with a clear national sport. You've got Australia with, 30 million people. We split our interests among many major sports. To beat them on their home turf, I know that really hurt them. And to silence maybe the biggest crowd on record for a cricket match, it was outstanding. So what an achievement by Australia. Well done, and plenty of happy Aussies this week. And there were plenty of happy Aussies. So 2015, the answer there. Australia won the World Cup most recently, other than this week. But there were plenty of happy Aussies this year. Can you remember where you were? Can you remember the year when the Socceroos beat Uruguay in a penalty shootout in the World Cup qualifiers, which secured a spot in the World Cup for the first time in over 30 years for Australia? And I can see the guesses coming through, and they're within a year, so I think people can remember it pretty well, because it was the 2006 World Cup in Germany, where Australia went on to make the knockout stages and only lost to the champions, not unlike this year. Back in 2006, losing to Italy, agonising. And of course, this year, or I should say, it was December, Australia losing to Argentina, who went on to win it. So you never know, it might have been the second best team. But 2006 is not the correct answer, because it was the qualifier. I believe it might have been late in the year, maybe November 2005. I think people, even if they weren't big soccer fans, can remember that moment, Aloisi, that winning goal. For me, it's a kind of remember where you were moment. Do you remember how many points you scored? And plenty of people answered 2005. Well done, Chad. Do you remember how many you got out of 5? So keep your score again to see where you're going to stack up at the end. And you could be anywhere from 0 to 5 points right now. And we'll just keep playing and we're rolling. Round 2, which is brought to us by TopSport Same Game Multis. So you may or may not be aware, they've got more of their player props under their regular markets for the US sports like NBA, NFL than they have ever before. So if you like to name 5 or so legs in a same game, give Toppy a try. You'll find those odds are aggressive the way we like them compared to some bookies. Let's be honest, some of the same game multi calculators can be downright offensive. And round 2 is name 5, and we're just going to keep the cricket theme. And I want to know, how many countries can you name that have won the World Cup of cricket for one-day internationals? So I'm going to assume that even if you're living under a rock, we've already just talked about Australia, you can count Australia. So I'm basically giving you a free point there. But how many other countries can you come up with that have won the Cricket World Cup? This is one-day internationals, which is the traditional format. Although interestingly enough, the exact same countries that have won the 50-over format are the ones that have won the T20 World Cup. So even if you get your formats mixed up, you can't use that as an excuse. Now, as always with name 5, there could be more than 5 answers, but you can only score a maximum of 5 points for however many nations you get correctly. And I can see heaps of answers flying through, which I appreciate. I'm just going to give you a little bit more time to think before we reveal. All right, let's have a look, guys. So there are 6, and let's go in reverse order. And I can see plenty of people: Nate, Lockie, Simo, Brandon, all with the correct 5, at least 5 of them. So Australia most recently, as we know, England, last World Cup, I think that was one of our answers. India, 2011. Sri Lanka, the winners in 1996. Pakistan in 92. And the West Indies won the first 2 ever Cricket World Cups in 75 and 79, if you're wondering. So how'd you go in that round? Again, up to 5 points were up for grabs, and we just kept it with cricket there. I do want to actually say, if you go back to the cricket winners, though, when I was reviewing this, doing my research, as Nate says, damn, not South Africa, the 2 most notably absent, it wasn't that hard to pick countries that had won, because we all know there probably are only 8 or 9, teams that have ever been strong, and probably only about that many Test cricket playing nations. And you figure they're the ones that would have ever been at the top of world cricket. But notably absent, New Zealand, we talked about, in the final against England last time around, in the final against Australia 2015. And how about South Africa, a proud cricketing nation, an accomplished cricketing nation? They've never even made a final. I was surprised to see, looking back at the history of the Cricket World Cup. So again, sorry not to rub it in, but I found that quite interesting. New Zealand and South Africa's trophy cabinets remain bare in that regard. Let's move to the next round, where there's an opportunity to get into the major prize draw. So again, add your scores together, what you got out of 5 there, plus round 1. The Who Am I is 5 clues, and the first correct answer that I see in the live chat is going to go in the major prize draw. Again, the major prize draw is thanks to Top Sports sponsoring this series. There's going to be Magic Round tickets. There's going to be a jersey of your choice, your sporting choice. And I'm going to throw in some TryPod merch that you can't even buy at this point. So that'll all be up for grabs. I'll probably do the big draw either last show or second last show, and I'm putting people in each week. As I mentioned, the other way you get in the draw is if you catch an incorrect answer and call me out, and you're the first to call me out in the comments, which could happen tonight. I'm going to have to look back and see what the true answer is with Australia with the Bledisloe. Even though that was a bonus question, I'll throw someone in. It did happen one other time this season where I threw Marcio in who corrected me. So if you're eagle-eyed, I'm definitely capable of a mistake or 2 along the way. But there's an opportunity for those of us playing live right now. If you can get it, the Who Am I after 1 guess, that would also score you 5 points. 1 less point for every additional clue that you need. But have a guess, even if it's to yourself or in the comments, have a guess after each clue, because there's no deduction for getting it wrong. And clue number 1, the jersey that I wore was number 23. Did anyone get it just from 1 clue? Some comments firing in, but I'm not going to put anything up on the screen. Give everyone an opportunity to have a guess for themselves. Clue number 2, I've been on the cover of a video game, which I think many of our Who Am I's have been as it happens. Does that jog anyone's memory? 4 points if you got it after the second clue. The third clue, which is worth 3 points if you're still waiting to get it right. I won a World Cup in 1999. Let me have a look. Plenty of guesses coming in, but now you're getting an era at least. World Cup winner in 1999. My highest test score was 99. So 99 World Cup winner, 99 highest test score. It's meant to get easier as we get through the clues. Plus, you kind of put it all together, and hopefully plenty of you can figure it out. But especially well done to those that got it after just 1 or 2 clues. Let me wrap up with the final clue. If you're not there yet already, I had 708 test wickets. So at this point, a score, I mean, a World Cup winner, I didn't specify the sport, but you're hearing a score 99, test wickets. Now you know it's cricket. So did that give this one away? The fact that there's a bit of a cricket theme tonight, maybe you guessed it. that it is the man, the myth, the legend, the late, great Shane Keith Warne. Rest in peace. Let's have a look at the comments. The first couple of guesses were Michael Jordan, Jerry, Michael, and I knew I'd throw people there with jersey 23, Lance Franklin, LeBron, but Dan Cole is going to be in the draw. He was the first to correctly guess Shane Warne, who also wore 23. Maybe people don't remember cricket jersey numbers as much. I mentioned, won the one-day international World Cup with Australia in 1999. That 99 test score is cruel because he could bat a little bit, and an international test century just eluded him. And I can remember that where he hit a reckless shot against New Zealand. And I don't know if people know this, but gets caught on the boundary for 99 against New Zealand in Perth. And I think it's years after the fact, or days after. Anyway, after the fact, it's established that Vittori, who dismissed him, had bowled a no ball, had overstepped the line. So how cruel is that? But it doesn't really take away from what a Goliath SK was. Another athlete, I would argue, transcended his sport, gone too soon. And, talk about 708 test wickets to this day, still the second most in the history of test cricket. Others, Trooper got Shane Warne, Brandon Shane Warne. Michael Clark was Simo's guess, but going back in these comments now, depending on how many clues were available, not sure when some of these guesses came through, but I can see that a heap of people got Warnie, and Dan is stoked to be in the major prize draw. That was the Who Am I? Just a couple more rounds to go. Let's keep it moving. Round 4. So part of the idea of this show as well is you can have fun playing it, but you might pick up little tidbits or info that just makes for an interesting conversation that you can have with your friends at work, whatever. I figure a lot of people are having kind of cricket chat this week. So I just wanted to make this one a bit more of a cricket heavy show. And the next topic, again, tally up your score before we get into round 4. So you could be anywhere from 0 to 15 right now, depending on how many clues you needed to solve Warnie, assuming most of us did get there eventually. Round 4 is all about coaches. So every answer is going to be a famous sporting coach. And I'm just going to kick it off with, do you know who coaches the Australian men's cricket team? As Jerry can remember Warnie's dismissal to slog sweep caught on the boundary by Mark Richardson. And a bunch of people do know the Aussie coach, who is, of course, Andrew McDonald. Well done, everyone, getting that correct in the comments. I must admit, I'm no cricket aficionado, and so I always wonder, how much does a cricket coach do? In my mind, it's not as important as a football coach, but maybe that's just me not understanding the intricacies. But in any case, when you take a step back and look at what the Aussie cricket team achieved this year, and you've got a World Test Championship, you win the Ashes, you just won the World Cup on Indian soil. I mean, there was a lot made of letting Langer go a year ago. McDonald doesn't seem to have that same profile, which is why I was interested to see how many would actually get that right. But the results speak for themselves, don't they? That was question 1. Question 2. Which legendary NFL coach is the Super Bowl champions trophy named after? Well done, Brandon. First one in. Wonder if I stumped a few people, as I didn't see nearly as many correct answers fly in as they did for the previous question. But Brandon, Mike, Jerry are on the ball. Vince Lombardi, he was a 3-time NFL champion coach, including winning Super Bowl I and Super Bowl II with the Green Bay Packers, and the trophy, as I said, is named after him. I think it has been since 1970. Everyone is vying for the Lombardi trophy every year in the NFL. Question 3. Which AFL coach is the best on ground medal in the grand final named after? Which legendary AFL coach? Maybe you don't remember the coach. It could be before many of our time, but you may know the award pretty well if you take an interest in the AFL, and plenty do. Plenty getting that correct. Well done, guys. Simo, who provides awesome AFL tips in the TryPod group, is on the ball there with Norm Smith, 6-time premiership coach with the D's through the 50s and 60s. I think at one stage 7 straight grand finals they made, from what I could see. Question 4. Which manager won the English Premier League a record 13 times? "13" is kind of mind-blowing. I know that historically there's only been a certain number of teams, a small handful, that are kind of in contention, but that's still ridiculous. And when you look at the lifespan of coaches these days at the highest level, plenty of people know this one, as they should. And I'm not a Manchester United fan by any stretch, but you still take your hat off to Sir Alex Ferguson. Again, 13 English Premier League titles, more people than I can even name, all got that one right. He won the Premier League in his final season, which was 2013, 10 years ago now. And it's not a coincidence. That's the last time Man United won the EPL as well. And if you're wondering, since Sir Alex retired, the crosstown rivals Man City have won 6 English Premier League titles. So it's got to burn a little bit from a United perspective. Question 5, I'm going to throw some rugby league in there. So which legendary rugby league coach is the Premiership trophy not only named after, but also partially sculpted into? And at the core, I know that plenty of TryPod followers are rugby league diehards, so I'm sure plenty of people know this one as well. Although I've got to admit, the answers aren't flying in as quickly as some of these others. We've got you might know the Premiership trophy, or you may know this man as the legendary coach. Maybe it's a trick question a little bit. Well, let's talk about Norm Provan. It is the Provan Summons Trophy, but Norm Provan is the man I'm talking about, who, get this, he was part of the legendary St. George Dragons side. He won 10 premierships as a player, but the final 4 of those, he was also the coach. So I just think this player-coach is such a mad concept, and I'd love to know in the chat, can anyone think of any recent examples? Has anyone been a successful player coach in the last decade? And since the year 2000, I've seen footage of Benji Marshall lacing the boots up, running around with his team in off-season drills. If he was to come out of retirement, could he do it? You wouldn't doubt someone like Cam Smith if you heard he was going to come back and be a player coach. It seems to be so dated. I'm a big NBA fan. I'm honestly, as crazy as it sounds, if LeBron James wanted to be a player coach, I think he's the kind of person who could do it. Not only just gifted, but he's a savant of his sport. So that's pretty wild, being a player coach. Obviously, it was more popular at a different time. So well done to everyone who did know that about Norm Provan. And well done if any of those iconic coaches. Dan says give Craig Fitzgibbon a couple of seasons. He's such a machine. I'm sure he wouldn't look out of place if he did put the boots back on again. Mike just says nobody could ever do it again. So 5 questions were part of round 4, which was on the topic of coaches, which means at this point you could have anywhere from 0 to 20 points. Again, coming up on the screen is Norm Provan, the final answer. We roll into the final round. So love to hear what scores people are on, or you can comment at the end, let us know how you went. But a chance to see if we've got any GOAT status among us. And can anyone get in the 20s tonight? Maybe if they're a cricket fan, they had an advantage. And that's going to continue into round 5. where we always have questions that are connected to the last 7 days to see who's really been paying attention. And yes, we are going to stick with cricket. I've talked about what a big deal that is, and what a great achievement by the Aussies. So here's the last question connected to that. How many times have Australia won the one-day International World Cup? Because again, when these kind of achievements happen, then you hear the historical context. And I like to put things into a historical context, because it's not just about remembering a recent score. It's kind of talking about where this holds its own part of history. And Australia just has a ridiculous record in World Cups. We've talked a bit about the different countries that have won, but I mentioned West Indies won the first 2 World Cups. India's also won 2. But everyone in the comments, every single person who's commented is correct. Well done, Jerry, Mike, Lockie, Brandon, Stephen, Michael. 6 is the correct answer. 6 times Australia have been champions of the world in the one-day international format. Question 2, we had the Formula One taking place in Las Vegas. I believe it was the first ever time, but it got off to a bit of a shaky start. The first practice session was cancelled when one of the Ferrari cars were damaged after hitting what? Who saw this one in Las Vegas? I mean, the scenes looked crazy. They were using streets in the Vegas Strip. They needed them open in the day for regular traffic. Then they had to close it all. Then they had like sessions that could be starting at midnight, partly for TV audiences in Europe, and also partly because when the logistics of keeping the roads closed and when they had to be open. I mean, it was glamorous, the pictures, and it looked like a pretty amazing event. But it was a rocky start for sure. And I can see plenty of people did see that. No, Jerry, it wasn't a stripper. It was, I've written, a manhole/drain cover that had popped up, and that was impacted by Carlos Sainz's Ferrari, and it affected the race too. I mean, not only did they have to cancel the practice session less than 10 minutes in, but Sainz gets a 10-place penalty on the grid because of forced changes due to that repair. Overall, though, it did look like a spectacular event to me, who was a super casual, someone who just had a little peek at it. Ultimately, what Verstappen's in Vegas stays in Vegas. Question 3. Hang in there with me at this one, because it's kind of, I'm going to need to give you a few little clues. We're talking a little bit of international soccer. We just had the international break. We've had, World Cup qualifiers, Euro qualifiers. So in European soccer, there is a little European country, just a population of around 2 million people, that has had some pretty remarkable results in the last couple of years. So I want to know how many of you can name this country. They beat Germany in the 2022 World Cup qualifiers. They dramatically defeated Italy in the 2022 World Cup qualifying playoffs. So that eliminated Italy from making the World Cup. Remember, Italy were the European champions at the time. They were bundled out by this country. And most recently, why it's connected to the last 7 days, this team also played out a draw with England. So if you're Italian, maybe you're German, or if you're an English fan and got up to watch that game, I think Tuesday morning, you'll know who this country is. Brandon is on fire tonight. He got it. North Macedonia. So I know some people wouldn't have got that with 100 guesses, but those are some of the biggest upsets in world sport, going back to beating Germany, as I said, and then Italy as well. And it was dramatic too. I think they scored in the 94th minute. It was about their first shot of the game. And I do think it's something that's awesome about football/soccer, that because of how widespread the sport is and the nature of the sport, you can have a team that's well outside the top 50 in the world can actually beat someone inside the top 10. And I don't know how many other team sports you can say that about. If you're wondering, or if you haven't heard of North Macedonia, they're Eastern Europe, just north of Greece. And for those who really are in the know with their football and got that one straight away, like Trooper as well, I'm genuinely curious, can anyone name a single North Macedonian player? Let's move to penultimate question of the night. I can't avoid it. I've got to ask, what team does Taylor Swift's boyfriend play for? And don't pretend you don't know. And plenty of people do in the comments. Well done. They know that. I mean, I could have asked this question many different ways. I could have said, who are the reigning Super Bowl champions? In fact, there was a Super Bowl rematch played yesterday, and the Eagles got a little bit of revenge over the Kansas City Chiefs, who are your answer. Kelsey is that guy on the Chiefs, and he was actually fresh off a trip to Argentina to see Taylor on her world tour. He had a bit of a mixed day yesterday. He did start with a touchdown, but also had a crucial fumble and ultimately took the L. Still, I'm sure he's doing all right. Question 5 from round 5. So final question of the night. I did ask about tennis last week. The question was who secured world ranking number 1 for the, I think, 8th consecutive year, which you played last week. You know who that is, and most people who follow tennis do. But the event, the ATP finals, have completed now from Turin, and I want to know who won that event. Well done, guys. Novak Djokovic is the correct answer. If you weren't aware, the ATP finals, they may not be as big as the Grand Slams, but you bring together the top 8 ranked players in the world, and it's a different format. It's at the end of the season and is a round robin format. And Djokovic not only won it most recently, but he has won this event a record 7 times. For the record, Federer did win it 6 times. But when I was looking back at the results, it was curious to me that Nadal never won this event. And I don't know if it's because it's always been played on a hard court, and being at the end of the season, Nadal is such a physical style that he's usually too worn out. I don't know. But what I do find crazy, I'm interested in the take of a tennis fan here. It's like we watched the whole career of Federer. We all marveled at him. And I think everyone considered that we were watching the greatest player of all time. And if you had to really think about who else was in that conversation, Nadal was right up there, maybe the second best, and their careers almost simultaneous. But for the last 15 years, there was this other guy chipping away who had to compete against Nadal and Federer in their prime. And it's like their windows have only just passed, and already Joker has a resume that's, indisputable. And the scary thing is it's still growing. We talked about that last week. Alcaraz is going to take plenty of these titles away. And maybe, at some point overtakes Joker. Father Time's going to get him eventually, but he's had a special career. So that was the 5th question for round 5. How did you go there? Score out of 5, and then add that to your tally for the night is going to give you a score out of 25. And again, I hope that tying recent events into a bit of historical context means it's not totally random, can spark a bit of discussion, can be entertaining. That's the most important thing. Talking about resumes and jokers might be indisputable. Who's got the best resume tonight? Comment your score if you want, if you're not too embarrassed, or maybe hopefully there's some people that are proud of their score. Let's have a look at how we rate your scores. If you get 22 or more, you are GOAT level trivia knowledge, sports trivia knowledge. 17 to 21. And Brandon, I trust that's true as well, because I saw the comments coming through and he was on the money tonight. So Brandon, 22, that's GOAT level. You're an all-star if you're getting 17 to 21. Champion is 13 to 16. Grasshopper, 8 to 12. You can improve. And participation trophy, if you're 0 to 7, but you still stuck out the show with us, thanks for being here. And thanks for playing with me, guys. Give the show a friendly like wherever you're watching it if you enjoyed it, and if you want more of this series. Have a great week. Until I see you again, and